Welcome to Not Coming Soon. This is the podcast in which we bring you the ideas of the movies of the future. They won't be coming soon, probably never at all, but we're here to entertain and delight. My name is Jeff Myers.
My name is Ryan Myers, and Jeffrey, it's exciting because now we can call this, in tandem with podcast, a video podcast.
You're really ambitious, and I appreciate your positivity. If you are hearing this as an audio-only version, it's because we couldn't get it to work. So,
actually, yeah, that's a good point.
Pending video.
Pending video.
This week is part 2 in our 3-part series on the Ancient Warrior. Now, if this is your first time joining us, don't worry, you haven't missed too much. What we're going to be doing going forward is presenting an idea in 3 parts. The first one will be about general idea, general kind of direction that we're thinking about. Second, we'll delve a little bit deeper. We'll get into maybe some casting decisions, develop the plot a little bit further. 3, we'll tie a little ribbon on it and finish up our idea and ship it. You know, We'll ship it to the studios and they can
sell it.
They can do what they will with it. We'll sell it. That being said, before we jump into part 2, did you watch The Batman?
I did watch The Batman.
I've seen The Batman twice now.
Okay, let's talk initial thoughts, and then we'll dive into after the second viewing. See what that second viewing did.
Okay, so initial thoughts.
Yeah,
very much enjoyed this movie. It was so dark.
Very dark.
It was a serial killer Batman movie. Pretty intense. It's starting to get a little bit to the point of like, okay, can we acknowledge that this dude is just dressed up as a bat? He's just walking around with his mask on with 2 little bunny ears.
Yeah, but his footsteps are super ominous, so...
They're super ominous.
Very ominous footsteps.
It's starting to get too grounded in reality to the point where it's like, why is he running around in a bat suit?
Yeah, and why is he not using his vast resources to help in the ludicrously large amount of ways he could with his fortune? I keep seeing that point brought up, and you're right. The more grounded in reality these movies become, the more you're like, okay, who would actually do this? Like, imagine watching this movie, in any Batman movie, really, without, like, the comic Batman, like, everyone being super familiar with Batman and the villains and all that. Like, imagine if somebody just wrote a screenplay called The Batman, and no one knew what that was, and people might take a second look. I don't know. But yeah, let's not get away from the fact that we did enjoy it. It stretched, I think, longer than it should have. What was the total runtime? 2:45?
Yeah, something like that. It was bordering 3 hours. For sure.
And I was super into it from the beginning up until probably somewhere between the middle and the 75% mark. And then at that point, I'm kind of just like, okay, where's this going? Because it kind of felt like, you know this, when we got into telling our stories, where you just find yourself saying, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It just kept feeling like they were jumping from thing to thing. It just seemed stretched out to me, and I felt like I lost a little bit of interest towards the end.
To be a little spoilery, so my first viewing, about like halfway through, I really needed to use the facilities and just powered through. So it made the very long movie feel even longer than it was. Second time around, I didn't feel that length. Second time around, I was like very fine with how long it was.
Okay.
But I was like waning interest. Well, it really felt like a slap to the bladder when Batman says, I think it might be time for this to end. And Gordon goes, what? The Batman. 40 minutes of film was left.
Him saying that, having this being our foray into the Robert Pattinson Batman and this specific Batman world, to me it didn't feel like it was time for the Batman to end. I didn't feel the weight of crushing years in his past of doing this.
Yeah, well, but that's not what he was saying. It wasn't like,
he's the problem.
I need to stop doing this. I think it was the Riddler, this video is a video exposing Bruce Wayne as the Batman, and that was going to ruin everything. That's what that in my opinion, that was his thought process. And then he goes to see the Riddler, and then the Riddler goes through his like speech, and
Right.
I was really kind of the movie was losing me a little bit when I thought that the Riddler knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, and he was about to unmask him. And when it was revealed that the Riddler doesn't know that he's Bruce Wayne, then I was like, all right, I'm back in.
Okay.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was such because I was convinced that the Riddler was just going to.
They obviously
Yeah.
like it is. It seems 100% like he knows. Did you notice the multiple scenes and even specific lines? I need to go back. I remember, but that were like straight out of Nolan Batman movies. So like when they're going aerial shot around the city of there's gonna be spoilers. Sorry.
Yeah, it's over.
Based on box office numbers, I'm sure you've seen it. Where aerial shot of the various points around Gotham exploding. Very similar to the stuff exploding around the city for Bane, Dark Knight Rises. There's the interrogation in the prison scene. It's different. It's a different scene, totally, but very similar vibes. And they said I should have looked back, and there was at least 2 times where I'm like, that exact line is in either Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises. And I can't remember what they are. I'd have to watch it again. But if I watch it again, I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, they're all kind of based on comic books.
I know. I know. And I did like they moved away whereas Dark Knight is kind of more I don't know. Parts of it are more they dive more into the Bruce Wayne story. Where this one was very much focused on the Batman, which I thought was a good alteration to kind of get away.
Yeah, and I do think as this iteration of Batman, if it continues, I assume it will because it's been so successful so far. That's kind of what this movie is setting up, right? That it's not enough to be just Batman. Like even you have the scene with the mayor. Who's like talking to Bruce Wayne about his resources and philanthropy and being able to be a symbol of hope both
beyond the
by
cowl.
night and by day. Yeah,
Nice tagline.
I think will be something something to see in future installments.
Yeah. If they do a trilogy, maybe the third one, he literally never dresses up as Batman. It's just the Bruce Wayne.
The Waynes.
The Waynes.
It's a sitcom.
It's Starling Marlon Wayans. So what else? What else are you watching? You watching other things?
Oh, I watched every single Batman movie.
Of course.
In the past week.
You say every
I'm not
single.
well. When I say every single, I mean Batman 1989.
Okay.
Batman Returns. Batman Forever. Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, Batman v Superman, and the Snyder Cut. I did not watch Justice League.
Oh, well, every single.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
You didn't? Oh, you did.
I didn't watch
watch
Justice League. I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay.
And I watched Joker. Not doing well upstairs. Also watched this movie on Hulu called Fresh. It's a new movie with Sebastian Stan, and they really don't tell you what the movie's about until 30 minutes in. Yeah, I don't want to give anything away.
Okay.
I would recommend a watch. It's like not phenomenal. It's just really an interesting way to tell the story that they told. So I would recommend it. Yeah,
all right.
check it out. It's
cool.
like the back half's more of thrillery.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. What are you up to?
Well, I'm excited to talk about this. A week ago, something like that, we went to go see Amadeus in a theater with a live orchestra.
Oh wow!
And so they played the music for the whole movie. Even they had a choir, they had a piano person, and it was a full orchestra. So they had edited out all the music in the actual movie, and they played it, and it was incredible. And that's a really cool movie to see it for, because there's so much. It's like based around composition, and there's scenes where the conductor is conducting and he's mirroring whatever the actual guy is doing.
That's cool.
So really, really cool experience, and that was my first time seeing Amadeus. Have you seen it?
I have not seen Amadeus.
It's incredible. It's incredible. 8 Oscars. Yeah. 8.
Really?
Yeah. No, it's a very captivating movie. And I also did not know that Mozart was the way that he was. He's kind of a goofy guy.
Oh,
yeah, it's funny. It's funny and very sad. It's very tragic, but great movie. The acting is incredible. It's just like I felt like I was hanging on. The main guy who it's not Mozart is this. The main guy is telling his story about his interactions with Mozart.
Okay.
And that guy is just like it's the way they tell it is really good, and all the acting in it is really, really cool. And obviously the costumes and music is super well done. So highly recommend Amadeus. And if you ever get a chance to go see something with a live orchestra, highly recommend, because it just added to it. It was really, really, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, we got our tickets a little late, so we were like,
nice.
Yeah,
in the orchestra.
But it was kind of tough because we had to look over the maestro, so like we couldn't see part of the screen. No.
Partially obstructed view.
Partially obstructed view. Oh, I watched The Last Night. Not The Last Night. The Last Duel.
Last Duel. I like the way that was told. I think that was a cool thing, and it was really cool to see. That's a movie that you could probably go back and watch multiple times because of the little subtle differences between each person's viewpoint. I was focusing on it because you had told me that was part of the story, and so I was focusing on it in the beginning of each telling, so I could notice those. But there was stuff that I'm sure I missed. Ridley Scott. Yeah. Most people haven't seen it because it did so poorly at it did really bad.
Ridley was pretty mad about that.
But okay, so that I feel like those people are so removed, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be so removed from the fact that it was released during a pandemic. Like I'm going to movies, and every time I'm like, should I be doing this? Still. And like I love going to the movies. Like casual moviegoers are not clamoring to go back to they're going back to see Spider-Man.
Exactly.
They're going back to see the Batman because they don't want like spoilers. Like they're really excited to see the next installment, and there's a lot of hype around these things, but there's not like you don't have to do a crazy amount of marketing to make people excited about those things. And the movie companies weren't putting crazy amount of marketing into things like The Last Duel because people didn't want to go to the movie theaters.
No. I didn't know anything about The Last Duel until you told me about it. And the most intriguing part to me that made me want to see it was that it's the same story told 3 different perspectives. That's cool. That's what I want to see. I love Adam Driver, love Matt Damon, love Ben Affleck, but it's like I've seen them and stuff, and it didn't really seem to me like a must see. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. I want to see that. So I had to wait till it came on streaming. So I mean, technically I paid for it, but that's another thing. I'm so intrigued, especially like originals, like Netflix originals, how they make money on that. And it's got to be like product placement because there's no box office numbers.
I mean, they have data to say like this drove this many viewers, and that like they can extrapolate data to say like this caused X amount of people to stay engaged with Netflix and stay subscribed to Netflix. So it's like a weird calculus that they do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's gotta be.
It's not nearly as direct as box office numbers.
No. Speaking of Netflix originals, I watched The Adam Project.
How was it?
It was a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo about time travel.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
Have you seen Free Guy?
I have seen Free Guy. I put off Free Guy, and I like Free Guy.
I kind of like Free Guy.
I kind of like Free Guy.
So would you say it's like similar to that feel?
No, because Free Guy is blatantly comical, I would say.
Okay.
Adam Project is mostly serious with the like classic quibs of Ryan Reynolds for humor.
Okay.
They don't. It doesn't develop as much as it.
Okay.
You know, it's pretty superficial, I would say. It's not crazy deep. I will say that they did. The ending is okay. It was a good ending.
Because Sean Levy directed both Free Guy and the Adam Project, and
yes,
and he's going to be directing Deadpool 3.
It
So,
seemed for this one
yeah,
like
he
they
found his
wanted to
guy.
put something together. It's fun. I could potentially watch it again.
All right, I feel I feel warmed up. How are you feeling?
Ooh, warm.
All right, I've got some ideas.
Okay.
So, okay.
Let me hear.
Well,
it.
yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm an idea machine over here. You that doesn't bode well for the amount of content that you've been developing.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I'm just excited to hear your ideas.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for those of you joining us for the first time,
Yeah.
welcome. And I'm gonna give a quick summary of what we've got so far, and then we're gonna kind of develop this idea a little bit more. So this is the ancient warrior that we're talking about. Our story starts off in a time long ago. A warrior is on a quest to conquer the whole world. He comes across an eternal power, some spirit that grants him the gift of immortality and power to complete his quest of conquering the world. In his time, even with this power, he's discovered that that's just not really possible. You conquer one part of the world, the other part of the world has gone their own way.
Pot.
So, not really able to do so. And he's given up on his quest, and we find him present day as a professor of history. He's just living out his eternal days as a regular old Joe Schmo. And then there's something awakens the spirit that grants him this power to begin with. He's not he's not happy about the way that our ancient warrior has conducted himself and given up on his pursuit. And that's kind of where we are. Anything else you want to throw out there before we try to develop this a little bit further?
So we're locking in that his quest is to conquer the world.
Oh,
Yeah, well, because
No.
so that was my first long-winded
thought.
description, and then I think we ended up cutting it to where it was just like he's trying to do something. How I had it originally was conquer the world or conquer humanity.
Yeah, I
in
think,
some way.
and I think that's a good impossible task.
That was the main idea. Was he's trying to conquer the world, and then in this being granting him the ability or the longevity to potentially do that, he's trying to, or it's trying to conquer the world as well in some form. It's trying to do something. No, I think it's good.
Tonally, we want this to be comedic.
I think
the way that we positioned it was somewhere between, and this is in the vein of kind of historical eternal beings, between what we do in the shadows and the mummy tonally.
Yeah, somewhere in between there. It kind of an interesting message or point to the movie that is ponderous, so not totally absurd, but yeah, with a fair amount of comedy. Because it's obviously going to be interesting watching this person who is trying to keep up with trends and all that and struggles more than most because he has more stuff to remember or more habits to break, potentially. How should we start? So what should we look at? What pieces should we start to add here?
Well, I was just kind of thinking the way that we can take that tone, the way that I'm kind of thinking about how we open it. I think it's interesting if he's met on the battlefield by this spirit. Mm-hmm. They kind of converse about how they're trying to conquer the world, and the spirit grants him the power to do so, but it's not. It's impossible. It's an impossible task still, even with this power. But
yeah,
he's granted this power, and he feels it coursing through his veins, and then he throws up his sword and is ready to go, and then we cut to black, and then you open on present day, and he's just lecturing.
Absolutely. I was kind of thinking grading papers.
Yeah, grading papers. That's funny. That's funny too.
Yes, that was the big almost cutting to Mr. Incredible when he's at the computer in the insurance agency.
Yes.
That vibe for sure is definitely what I wanted when we went from the ancient world to modern times. And I was kind of thinking, my first thought was he meets some foe on the battlefield who stops him. And he's actually in retreat when in desperation he agrees to this power.
Yeah.
And we see him conquer that, whoever the foe was that he couldn't beat before. And expect, I did it, and then nothing happening because there's a whole nother continent. There's more land, more people than they thought was there. And then boom, cut to him.
Yes. Okay.
Great papers.
Okay, so then from there,
yes,
he's just kind of living, right? And he's dating and just like doing bills and trying to like date in a modern world.
There's so much to do with this.
Yeah, so he's just like out to dinner and just kind of like, so where are you from?
Yeah.
And it's a faraway country. You probably haven't heard of it.
And I'm trying. And another point I was thinking of is, what do we make it look like when this entity comes back? If it's in a museum, if it's buried somewhere, and what form does it take to like kind of pester him? One thought I had was kind of like a Venom type relationship.
Yeah.
Where it's like over his shoulder, he's the only one that can see it. I'm worried that's too similar, but that was what I was kind of thinking of.
Oh, that he is kind of haunted by this spirit.
Kinda, yeah. Either that, or it takes some human form.
What if we do kind of like a split movie where you have the thing that's happened in the beginning, you have him as a professor living life, and it's kind of like rom-com-y in the middle, and then it kind of goes back and forth with maybe somebody breaks in to a museum, awakes this spirit, and this spirit then puts itself onto this museum robber, and then that's the vessel in which he comes to take the power back from our guy.
Yes, that's great. Yeah,
and because he's immortal, there's also the element of anybody that he does have relationships with is going to be a speck of dust to him. So maybe there's kind of a longing to be human. There's a longing to age and feel that sense of urgency of having a short life. And by the end, through this conflict with the spirit, he defeats the spirit, which then dissolves the spirit's power, which takes away the power that he's been given, and then he just lives a normal life by the end.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously that was one thought for the end like that, to end happy for him. Another one, so we also have to kind of settle on, like, once this, the conflict is this entity messing with our main character. But, like, what does that look like? What's it building towards? And, like, how does that kind of climax, you know?
Yeah.
What does this conflict look like? And so I was thinking of, one, he defeats it goes away, and he gets to live out his days as he wants to. And then another one was, like, this guy using whatever vessel it's using, tries to take over the world in a roundabout way. It tries to do something different. And our guy's trying to stop him from doing that thing. And in doing that, so if this entity were to do this horrible thing and take over the world, that would also free our main character of his burden. But he doesn't want to see the world destroyed or injured in the way that this entity is trying to do it. So he ends up overcoming it. That doesn't kill it. That doesn't fulfill his contract. So he's content, or he comes at peace with himself for sacrificing his life. Not really, but his mortality. Yeah, sacrificing his mortality to save mankind.
Sacrificing his mortality. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That might be too deep for the mood that I was thinking of, but I think that has really cool implications.
Yeah. That's why I was not hesitant, but like didn't want to call it a comedy because I had that tone in mind. So we can obviously do it both ways. And given all the shticks we could do with this ancient dude trying to date and live a normal life, we might not want to go so serious. Or it might not feel so good.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
That's not an appropriate way to end that kind of mood.
But it doesn't have to.
Okay.
Even if that is the way we go and he has to just live out his days, it doesn't have to. Maybe he comes to terms with it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And maybe we leave the door open for this could also happen. So maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a loophole. Ooh.
A budding franchise.
This is a blossoming franchise. Oh, that's a great movie. Internship. You were quoting that, right?
Yeah, I was.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, I do that.
Sorry,
I do that often where I quote something and I'm like, that's in my head. I don't know where it's from, but
no, that's it. Yeah, that's what I was definitely like consciously quoting that, but
gotcha.
I was just trying to think of like what other things we could do here.
Yeah, I think we got to add in more characters to it.
Yeah.
Initial drafts had a couple students involved. So he's a professor of history, of course. These two students notice something that gets them thinking, because like this guy doesn't look normal. I had him being very large, Conan the Barbarian type size. So they like start putting two and two together, and they see him in an old picture, older than he obviously should be.
Oh yeah.
And so they kind of get in on this. Can't have them telling people, so he like lets them help do whatever the conflict is.
Yeah. So he is like approached by these students towards the beginning.
Yeah.
And then he like tries to shut things down, and then once this entity comes back in and he sees room for assistance in stopping this thing from taking over the world, he enlists their help.
Yeah, could be. Or it could be that for some reason this entity has earmarked these students as friends of our guy, and he needs to get them involved to like protect them. And then this was also part of the original idea. So, but feel free to veto. The foe he meets at the beginning that beats him the first time. Part of the deal he makes with this entity is, okay, 1, let me beat this guy. 2, let me take over the world. Let me rule, have domain over the earth. And by doing that, he wrapped this guy, this foe, into his fate. So this guy died. He died on battle trying to beat him the second time. But each time he dies, he comes back because this soul is entwined in this deal. So to win, or to be able to die at this point, he has to beat this guy and take over the world. He has to do those two things. And each time he beats the guy and doesn't take over the world, he has to beat the guy again. Over the years, he just gave up beating this guy, and they would find each other and become friends and try to figure out how to overdo it. Overthrow it, or whatever. So
I like that, because I did have the thought of someone being in it with him.
Yeah.
And I like how that fits in.
Right. We don't have to go this path, but this was another thing I was working on. If we want any sort of spicy twists, we can have it where, so again, this goes with the little more serious ending where he accepts immortality. By accepting immortality, that would mean that this guy, his friend now, would also have to continue living on a loop.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was actually how he became a professor at this university, because this guy has a different life every time because he's born to a different body.
Yeah.
And this time the parents he was born to were like teachers or something. And that's how he got on this path, and he like gets jobs for the guy. So he's not always a professor, but he has whatever job is kind of like help lined up through, because he doesn't have a birth certificate or actual information to get to actually apply for a job himself. So he gets jobs through this guy, and who like in turn helps hide him from everyone else. But anyway, that would, if he were to accept immortality, that would mean this guy's soul would continue on the loop forever. And while he feigns being okay with that, he's not. and some point turns and like starts to help the spirit entity thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he definitely gets the short end of the stick. He has to consciously go through childhood and old age.
Yeah.
Each time.
Yeah, and die.
I like it. I want to keep that. And I think that we can do like really fun like cut scenes to like old times.
Yes.
Like he's on a date and he's over the years he's sorry I'm like obsessed with him going on dates.
No, it's
but
it's vital to the story.
But he's over the years become a wine connoisseur and is speaking about trips that he's taken to Italy and France for wine, his love of wine, of fine wines, and we just like cut to like really old guard. He's just having a drink with Napoleon or something.
I like it. That's good. Is he going through those in his head as he's talking to this modern date?
Yeah.
There's so much that could be done with flashbacks in a comical way. Oh, I like it. Oh, should we write a script? Should we write a screenplay?
That's the next step.
It's the next step. Not coming soon implies that it's coming. I think we give it a try. I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen?
I'll give it a shot. Why not?
Yeah. I want you, Jeff, to connect for me Johnny Galecki and Jim Carrey.
And we don't do TV shows. Is that correct?
We do not do TV shows.
Okay. Well, then I have one Johnny Galecki movie to go off of.
There's another one that I was banking on you not knowing, so...
You did well.
You'll be surprised.
So we have Johnny Galecki in Christmas Vacation. Who else is in Christmas Vacation? We have Brian Dole Murray.
Nice.
We have Chevy Chase, of course. We have Juliette Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are my three big ones that I could go with.
There's another pretty good one.
Randy Quaid? Randy Quaid will get me there? I'm not a huge Randy Quaid head.
Okay.
Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey.
Trailer for Lemony Snickets.
Right? The trailer for a series of unfortunate events.
Heck yeah. This way to the reptile room.
I apologize for my...
I've done this many a time. Do not feel bad.
Man, I'm ashamed.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be. Johnny Galecki's that's a tough one. The one I went from was a Johnny Galecki cameo, so like...
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have Johnny Galecki and Jim Carrey. Johnny Galecki, I have the Johnny Galecki that I have to use, and I have a few options that stem from that Johnny Galecki role.
The Jim Carrey one is a vast pool of talent.
Interesting. Okay. Jim Carrey.
Like the scene was almost how many famous people can we get?
Oh, okay. All right. I know what you're doing. Do I want to do that though? Okay, so you have a deep cut Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is in Anchorman 2.
Yes.
With... That's okay. We're going to get there. Don't even worry.
Yeah.
Got
it. Hit it. Hit it.
All right.
Yeah.
You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Galecki is in Christmas Vacation with Juliette Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Who is in California with Brad Pitt.
With a K.
Who is in Seven with Morgan Freeman. Who is in Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey.
Wow. Wow, that was a good one. That was a fun one.
That was fun. What Johnny Galecki movie did you use?
Hancock.
He's in Hancock?
he's like in Hancock for like 2 scenes. He's like some marketing guy that Jason Bateman is trying to get his heartfelt campaign thing, the all heart.
Oh man. I want to watch Hancock again. Watch Hancock. I haven't seen that in so long.
Oh so anyway, gosh. Hancock with Will Smith, Anchorman 2. Or if you wanted to do Christmas Vacation, you do Johnny Galecki's in Christmas Vacation with Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid is in Independence Day with Will Smith, who is in Angry Birds.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't think I've seen Independence Day.
Ever?
What
do you do on July 4th?
I salute the flag for 12 straight hours.
That's good. I think it's going to do it for us, folks. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a great time doing the second installment of The Ancient Warrior. Tune in however many weeks later for the epic conclusion of the story. I know you're all hanging on the edge of your
pins and needles,
seats.
my friend.
Ooh, yeah. It's going to be exciting. Well, this time, and most likely next time, I have been Ryan Myers.
I have been Jeff Myers.
And we'll catch you next time on Not Coming Soon.